People of the internet, welcome to another video. Ade Torrent here, and I've got a cool one today. I made a video about the Olympus 35RC in which I said, this is my favorite camera of all time, I love this camera. And then I made a video about the Olympus 35SP, and then went on one about how this is the best rangefinder ever made. Bet this, best that, better than the Leica, blah de blah. So which is it, Ade? Is it the RC or the SP? Which do you prefer? I'm going to try and see if I can clear that up today. Let's start with the RC. The Olympus 35RC, as we know, is a little rangefinder camera with a beautiful 42mm f2.8 lens. That Zuiko lens is non-interchangeable, it's fixed. The light meter is almost through the lens. It's not quite through the lens, but the cell is in such a place that you don't need to compensate for filters. So for all cases and purposes, it is a through the lens metering system. And now we have the Olympus 35SP, again a rangefinder camera with a 42mm f1.7 lens. So it's the same 42mm lens, but opens to f1.7. I can go on about elements arranged in groups, yada yada yada. This lens is much superior to the lens on the RC. However, we'll talk about that later. It's got an actual through the lens light meter. It also takes a battery to run that light meter. And it's got a threaded shutter release as well. Its metering system is a lot better than the RCs. So which one do you prefer? Now, on paper, there is no doubt that the Olympus 35SP is a better camera, okay? The lens on its own, I mean, this is possibly one of the best lenses that Olympus has ever made. And, you know, with a camera, the lens is the #1 feature of it. But you know, in good light, using the same film, anywhere between f4, f5.6, f8, f11, I don't think anyone in the world can tell the difference between pictures that were taken with the RC compared to the pictures taken with the SP, seriously speaking, because those benefits really come to their own at the extremities, I think. So for instance, at f2.8, which both cameras can achieve, you will see the difference between pictures that were taken with the SP and the RC, in my experience. Well, the SP's pictures are much sharper at 2.8. Of course, the RC can't open to f1.7, which the SP can. That's one thing to consider for low light. Also, in terms of shutter speeds, the RC can achieve, 15 to 500. The SP can achieve the same range, bulb to 500. However, it's got 1 second, 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds, whereas the RC just starts at 15 seconds. So you can, basically you can take better pictures at low light without the need for flash with the SP. However, if you need to take pictures indoors, you probably should be using flash anyway, if the lighting conditions are such that, you're going to get underexposed pictures and you don't want to push, or you don't have a tripod to do long exposures, or people are moving around or whatever. So I would say around the sweet spot of the lenses, which is around f5.6, f8, really you can't tell the difference. So most of the pictures that I take, actually, my favorite f-stop is 5.6. So even, if I'm outdoors and it should be like an f8 or f11, I will ramp up the shutter speed as far as I can and do that whole sort of one-stop overexposed thing. I really just love 5.6. I don't know why, I just feel really comfortable at that f-stop. Maybe it's something I heard, maybe something I read, I don't know. But I just find that my pictures look the best at f5.6. The other thing, the metering. Now, while the SP is superior in metering to the RC, it does the whole center weighted thing and the spot metering thing, fine. You can get more accurate exposures with the SP, there's no doubt about that. But the RC's exposure meter is just good enough. Most of the time I'm shooting in full manual mode. So whether I'm carrying the SP, I'm carrying the RC, I'm setting the shutter speed, I'm setting the aperture, the ISO is whatever the ISO is, and I take the picture. So it kind of makes things like aperture priority, speed priority, spot metering, and all that kind of stuff not so important for me. Another thing is the size of these cameras. Now, if you look at the cameras, the SP is clearly larger than the RC. It's not that much larger, but it is noticeably larger, especially if you look from the side. The lens does protrude a little bit more on the SP than it does on the RC, but just, you know, it's not that much, but it does protrude. And I would say that the RC is a pocketable camera and the SP is not a pocketable camera. I think that's a camera you hang around your neck or you put in the camera bag. So even though this is a great holiday camera, I'm much more likely to pick the RC while going on holiday. Now for street photography, that's a completely different issue because I'm not going for that long. I'm not going away for days, I'm going away for hours. So that's a little bit more difficult to pick between the two when doing street photography. Again, maybe 6 times out of 10, I'll pick the RC over the SP just because, I don't know, reflexes. The one strongest point for me for the RC is the viewfinder. Now, the viewfinders are not that much different when you look inside. The main difference with the RC's viewfinder is it actually tells me what shutter speed and what aperture I'm at, so I can set those without looking away from the viewfinder. You can sort of do the same thing with the SP. However, with the SP, it doesn't give you the shutter speed and aperture combination. It gives you the EV value. Now, while that's useful to some people can do the mathematics in their heads or whatever they need to do to understand that. I would much rather just have the aperture and the shutter speed. It's just so much intuitive for me. And you know, I'd rather just be able to go from f8 to f5.6 to f4 without, you know, removing my eye from the viewfinder. Well, that's it, guys. I hope that clears it up. I haven't said explicitly, but I will say that now. My preferred camera of the two is the Olympus 35RC. So there we have it. Do you have one of these cameras? Do you have both of these cameras, either of these cameras? Which one do you prefer? Let me know what you think. And do you prefer looking at EV values to aperture and shutter speed settings? Let me know in the comments. That's it for now. I'm out and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.